Hi everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I've made it out to Mundon, to the Petrified Oak Trees that are here on a very bright sunny day. It's about 12:30 in the afternoon and it's these conditions that I really wanted for today's shoot. So let's have a look at what I come up with today. I'm working on the first composition here with the camera set up in landscape orientation, looking at one of the main petrified oak trees here. And I've got the circular polarizer on because that's really sort of deepening the blues within the sky. I mean, it's an absolutely amazing, fantastic sunny day, and some people may think that that's not actually going to be good for photography. However, today, picking this location, I think it's going to really work well. And the reason why is contrast. That's what I'm after within these images, is contrast, particularly because I want to turn most of the images into black and white. And this is going to work really well, as the main oak tree that I've got here is obviously picking up the sun on one side, but there's a slight shadow on the other, and that texture detail is hopefully going to be really emphasized with A, the polarizer on the front, but B, obviously when you convert it into black and white as well. And it's just looking at the conditions that you've got today. Yeah, okay, I've got a free couple of hours on a Saturday afternoon to pop out to this location. The conditions are what they are today. Fantastic, lovely dry weather, which is great, but obviously coming here, hopefully working out to be really interesting. For this actual image, I've got the camera set up on f8, ISO 100 and 60th of a second as my base image, and working out to be really well, with the polarizer turned up right to the max. The histogram sort of right peaking right in the middle, so I've not got any clipping either end on the histogram, and that's working out really well. And for me, that's what I really rely on a lot when I'm taking my photos, is looking at the histogram on the back of the camera in live view. Because of obviously the 77D, looking through the viewfinder itself, you're only getting about 95% coverage of the final image, whereas obviously using the live view, you're getting that full frame of the image and what you're actually going to be taking. And that's so I can actually make sure that the oak trees in the background are still going to be within the actual image, and the branches are not then sort of leading out, because you can't add anything to an image, or you can, but in my past I've found it really difficult to sort of do that within the obviously post editing, but working out really quite well, obviously using the live view at the same time. As I say, you can't really add on, but you can always subtract and crop down as well, and hopefully with obviously the array of branches in the background working out really well. I've got the camera set up on about 20mm as well, cropping in that little bit just to make obviously sure that I've obviously got all the detail there. I've got a little bit of the foreground interest as well. Unfortunately, there's a couple of these sort of sapling growth tubes that are obviously here and around. I'm not too sure, probably there's too many to actually clone out, but yeah, ideally would love it not to have that distraction, but unfortunately it is private property, that area there, so you can't really go in there, remove it and then put it back again, which is not recommended at all. But yeah, it's the first composition in the bag, working out really well. So I've changed the camera over to a vertical orientation and used about 3 or 4 of the actual petrified oak trees here in a composition at f8, ISO 100 and about 1/60th to 1/80th of a second. Again, obviously with the polarizer on, cranks up to its maximum. I've then also now zoomed in to 185mm using obviously 185 to 18mm, and sort of picked out some of the detail in this first oak tree here as well. It's working out really well. Again, that's sort of adding to that texture, that detail that I've actually got, and one I wanted to capture in today's shoot. However, I will probably have to clone out a couple of the stray branches from one of the other trees. Unfortunately, I haven't got my 70 to 300mm lens with me. I lent it to a neighbour over lockdown. So yeah, unfortunately, if I had that, I would have probably been able to reach that a little bit further and obviously picked out a lot more detail with that lens. However, just the way it is at the moment. But yeah, working out really well, and again obviously having the polarizer on, taking off some of the sheen on the lighter area of the oak tree, because obviously the petrified wood, it is obviously quite a lot of glare coming off of it, particularly because of the sun conditions that we've got today. So again, obviously having the polarizer on, taking some of that reflective down, but obviously bringing out the blues and deepening that within the final image, and again hopefully working out really well. So the settings for that one, just double check, is again f5.6 for that one, ISO 100, and I think it was around about, let me just get up the details, yeah, 1/60th of a second as the actual shutter speed, and working out really quite well. Again, obviously keeping those dark shadows, the highlights as well, all within the histogram reading, and working out to be really well for that one. Working on the last composition here, I've got the camera precariously placed on the tripod to get that little bit of height over the top of the fence here, and got the camera set up in landscape orientation, looking about back down obviously the fields for the petrified trees. This angle is making sure that most of obviously the side of the oak trees is in full sunshine. So again, obviously using the polarizer to take away some of that glare and deepening the blues for this one. So I've got the camera set up on 18mm, f11, ISO 100 as standard, 1/80th of a second as my shutter speed for this image. So working out to be really interesting for this one. I've tried to sort of minimise the fence line that I've got leading down this side. However, yeah, it's a little bit of a tricky one with this one, but what can you do really? It's obviously the private property, you can't really go into the field, but it's working out really well. I think I'm going to have to clone out, there's a sign on one of the oak trees that you possibly can't see in the footage here, but saying private property as well, so I might have to clone that one out. Yeah, I'll wait and see what I get when I get back to post-processing the images for this one. But yeah, really interesting, great location. I think obviously the conditions today coming to this location has worked out really well because of obviously the sunshine and obviously the contrast that it's creating as well. So the car's parked back at St Mary's Church, so I'm going to have a little walk back there now and see if I can get a composition or two back at the actual church itself. Having a good look around the church, I've come across this composition of one of the entrances with the lovely sort of wooden entrance to the actual church, working out really well. So I've got the camera set up low down to the floor, looking up, and set on the camera at 18mm, f11, ISO 100 and 1/40th of a second as my base image. However, I've got two images that I'm going to compose together, bracketing both images of 1.5 stops either side, and also 2 stops either side, just because I want obviously that ability to merge the images together. I'm shooting back towards where the sun is, so I'm having to use my filter holder, so I can actually obviously protect the lens to reduce any lens flare, because that's really hard to get rid of in post-processing. You can do it, but it's very, very fiddly. And if you remember about it when you're actually out in the field and having something to shield it as best you can, palm of the hand is good enough. However, this is obviously slightly larger, and creating that sort of bit of a shadow over the end of the lens to prevent that lens flare occurring is always a good tip to remember. So yeah, obviously setting up the images, I'm not too sure which one I'll obviously use. I'll post up obviously the settings in the description below for all of the images that I take, so yeah, you'll obviously work that one out at the end. But yeah, this is working out really well. I walked around the other side of the church. There's not really much of detail in that side of the church. It's not an operational church as such. It's a redundant church. They don't use it for regular services. But yeah, it's a fantastic location anyway. I've taken an image when I've been here before from the opposite end of the church, which is really well, and I didn't feel like I wanted to sort of add anything to that image. I was quite pleased with it when I took it, but this composition working out really well. But particularly getting down low and obviously emphasizing it, and having obviously the bracketed images as well, so obviously I can blend in the detail in the shadows as well, because at 40th of a second as my base image, that wasn't obviously exposing for the shadows, and it's a lot of high dynamic range within this particular image. But hopefully with those 3 images in the bag, working out really well. Worked out to be a really interesting location to visit here at St Mary's Church, and over to the Petrified Trees as well, and making the most of the conditions I feel that I have today, because of obviously the bright sunshine, as I mentioned several times, working out for that sort of contrast and texture within particularly the oak trees, and obviously the bracketed images that I was able to capture of the church itself. And that's the thing, is looking at locations or looking at the conditions that you've got and working out which location is going to work best for you, and the time that obviously you're able to come out and do the shoot as well. Yeah, it's great to obviously do sunrise and sunset, but sunrise at this time of year is really early in the morning, particularly if you've obviously got to get to a location in the first instance, and obviously sunset's at a more reasonable time. However, as obviously my last video was a sunset, I felt like I wanted to change it up a little bit today. I also wanted to say a quick thanks to everyone's messages of support after last time's video, and obviously regarding the unfortunate loss of one of my family members. Yeah, really appreciate that, and also wanted to give a special mention to Andy Cornwell as well, who's messaged me several times on Instagram. Yeah, really appreciate that, Andy. Yeah, it really means a lot, and great obviously photographer. I'll link down to his Instagram page for him and his brother as well. Yeah, take some really quality images, and I know he's been out several times recently as well to capture some star trails, so hopefully that's worked out well for him. But yeah, really enjoying it, and we'll continue on as I am. And as I said in the last time video, obviously won't be committing to a regular upload. However, obviously we'll publish as many vlogs and images as possible. So check out my Instagram feed. I don't update it as much as I should do, and I'm trying obviously the best to obviously do that. But yeah. Anyway, thanks a lot for everyone that's watched recently. Thanks a lot for you for watching today, and until next time, take care.